what I copied.
Perfect. Longer, so I'm just going to get started here. So we've got the multiple triangles here. That's what's different, okay? So here are some steps. Some of you need steps, and why not? There's nothing wrong with steps. You know, sometimes, I don't know who comes up with these ideas like, oh, students should just find out for themselves. It's like, well, no, you need a little bit, something to get you started, and then you find out other ways of doing it. So one, fill in what you can tell without solving. So use these two complementary, right? Do you have a 90 or do you have a supplementary situation happening, right? Where you have something like that. Can you just easily find an angle like that? That would be my number one go-to, okay? Number two, start with a triangle with the most information. That's probably worth highlighting because some students start with the one that doesn't have much and then they're stuck. Start with a triangle with the most information. Solve for the side that is shared. That's what I would suggest. I know some of you are going to find your own ways and you can go ahead and fly, right? Like I'm not going to stop you. Now solve for the side required to answer the question. Like now you're kind of, I tell my students, you're kind of like moving in. You're moving in and you're kind of figuring out how do I get that final answer, okay? So those are what I would suggest, the 4 steps, which I think all of you intrinsically do anyways. Okay, here we go. Let's apply these 4 steps here. The angle of elevation to the top of a tree from point B is 42 degrees. That's already in there. Check, right? We got that. From point C, this is point C, which is 70 meters closer to the tree. It does make sense. You're 70 meters closer. The angle of elevation is 58 to the top of that same tree. How tall is the tree? I'm going to call this X. Like that's our ultimate. They want to know how tall is that tree. If you call it H, that's fine. It is the height of the triangle. I won't disagree with you on that. But here we go. So first step is this. Do you see this 58 here? Suspicious, right? It's kind of suspicious. Let's say you ignored it for a bit. And you're like, oh, there's a triangle here with a 42 and with a 70. Can you do anything with that triangle? And the answer is no. You need at least 3 things, or else you can't do it. You need 3 things in a triangle for you to be able to do it. So I'm going to use this one here. I'm going to use this supplementary angle, right, to allow me to find this one here. This is the one I want. Okay. So how would I do that? I'm going to just go arrow out of that. I'm going to go 180 minus 58. I don't have the key in front of me, so I'll just go freestyle here. 122. Okay, so this will be step number 1, supplementary angles. So let's write that in, 122. Okay. And now what else can I do now? If I have 2 angles, I can find that third one up there. And some of you are probably like, oh yeah, you just talked about that, right? Let's find that one. I'm a big fan of showing it right here, so I'm just going to go 180 minus the 42 minus the 122. That's 16 degrees. Let's write that in as well. What did I use up here? I used sum of a triangle is equal to 180. That's what I used up here. I did not use supplementary angles up here. I mean, sorry, they are supplementary. They add up to 180, but it's a different property. It has to do with the triangle. Okay. Do you want to give yourself a little, this is, right, I first did this part, then I did that that was my second step. Okay. And now, can I solve something here? I have a pair, don't you? You see it? It's hard. It's weird, right? This triangle. But this side is across that angle. Okay? So we have sine law happening here. So let's start with it. Sine of 16 degrees over 70 meters. And here's the kicker. You've got options. Which is the side that they're sharing? By that I mean like this side is shared between these two triangles. You see that? This one? So that's the one I'm gonna focus on. Let's call that Y, okay? And so I'm closing in. I'm gonna get this one and then I will get that one, okay? So to find Y, if I want side Y, which angle do I have to use? 42, right? 42. So I have to use sine of 42. If you use 122, you're finding the long one out here, which is also an option, but I'll just leave it at that. So cross multiply and divide, right? So 70 times sine of 42 divided by sine of 16. I get 16993, and we are in meters. It's not my final answer yet, but it's important. So I'm going to call this my third step. Whatever I just did there, that was my third step. I'm going to highlight that with the same color. If you're into highlighting, that's up to you. But I found that side. All right. Now I'm going to go in to solve for this side, because think about it this way, guys. I know this side. I know that angle. Do I know something else about this triangle? The 90, right? Should I make it bigger? No, I'm just going to keep it small. There we go. We've got the two angles. So we can solve for that one. I want to sketch this out. This is X. This is 169.93. This is 58. Here you've got your pair. So sine of 90. Is that good there? Sine of 90 over 169.93. And then we have sine of 58 over the side across from it, which is the one we're after. So it's really just a lot of sine law in this case, or sometimes a lot of cosine law. It's just more steps, that's all. Sometimes I tell students to start solving and see what happens, right? If you're stuck, cross multiply and divide. Oops, off script there. So 169.93 times sine of 58, that's 144.11. And we are in meters. This is the ultimate height of tree. This is the fourth step. Maybe I'll put a little 4 here. And you do this only if you want to, right? Like I boxed this and this is the work I did there. I'm going to zoom out a bit. I'm going to tell myself this was my third step. Right, that was step number 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's kind of the order that I took in order to solve it. Sine of 122. Just solve, like, did you solve for this side? And then you solve for the height? You got the same answer? Yeah. Yeah. So if you find the one out here, then you gotta use the big one, and you would be using 42. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, your task before you go, right? Before you go today, minimum one that you want to try. There are plenty. So I'm just gonna say 39. I think my key goes all the way to like 44 or something like that. So I'm just gonna say go to 39 and just write this down so you remember. Page 39 to 44. So now you basically know how to do everything.